Welcome back to my channel, guys. My name is Steve, and for the last few weeks I've been producing videos aimed at anyone who has an idea about buying a camper van or motorhome for the first time, like me, but doesn't really know what it is that they want in terms of size, layout, or what they are likely to need to spend to find their dream machine. Back in the 1990s, I owned a 1972 VW Type 2 transporter, one of the old air-cooled 1.6 litre Dormobile conversions, and I had great fun with that, although I did spend more time repairing it than it was on the road, I think. But I haven't owned anything since, and things have moved on a lot since those days. And now I'm just waiting for some money coming through from an inheritance, and I will be buying a van ready for when I retire this autumn. So this video is going to be a bit different from my usual offerings, where I've been going around to motorhome dealers and filming motorhomes. And I want to go back and have a look at some of the viewer comments that I've received from those previous videos and take a look at what you guys have been saying, and also then give you an idea of my latest thinking for my van requirements. So let's take a look at some of those comments. Comment number one: motorhomes keep their value more so than self-built panel van conversions. I've had a look at this by checking on Auto Trader, and self-built vans do tend to have higher mileage than motorhomes. Most of the motorhomes that I've looked at that I could afford were about 10 years old, but they only had maybe 20,000 miles on them, but they're still 10 years old. But then panel vans have been bought and used as work vans, and they might have 70 to 120,000 miles on them, something like that, plus the mileage that has been put on them if they've already been converted and used as a camper van. Those already converted vans do seem to be holding their value really well in comparison to what I have been quoted to have a van converted. You know, it's for what I want in a camper van. If I was going to have a panel van converted, it would probably cost me about £40,000, somewhere around there. And I've seen vans on Auto Trader for about 35,000. So it's not, they're not doing too badly. So I'm not sure about that comment. Comment number two: with a £40,000 budget, I've had several viewers suggest that I increase my budget, and one viewer even suggested that I work longer to save more money. Well, the whole point of a budget is to set a figure that is a maximum amount that you can reasonably afford to spend without putting yourself into financial hardship. I don't have another £10,000 or more just sat in the bank account, so my maximum budget is my maximum budget. It's like a bank offering you a mortgage to buy a house, and that mortgage offer is the maximum that you can spend. And most people won't have another £50,000, for instance, just sat in a bank account doing nothing, you know, to add to that mortgage offer, other than the money that you would have to pay as a deposit. And as for working longer to save another £10,000, well, in this age of rising prices and wages not keeping up with inflation, I'd never be able to retire. It would take me years to save £10,000, and I've been working for 50 years already, and I really don't want to work any longer than I have to. So that's not going to happen. Comment number three. There have been several comments on this subject, and the subject has been emissions and Euro ratings, and that there may be places in the UK and Europe that I can't go to. Unfortunately, with a £40,000 budget, that will only buy me a motorhome around 10 years old. So that rules out me being able to comply with the latest Euro 6 emission standards. So if I wanted to enter a town or city which does have low emissions clean air zones, then I would have to pay either the charge to enter that area or park up outside of the area and use public transport. Buying a motorhome that does comply with low emissions standards is outside of my budget, unfortunately. But I don't mind that. I mean, I do understand that there's going to be times when I will probably have to go into these areas, you know, maybe to use garage facilities or to go to particular shops um, or, or supermarkets, you know, that kind of thing. So I get it. Comment number 4. One viewer suggested that I take a holiday to Spain and visit the campsites there, as many English vans will be up for sale there at half the price. Um, I don't know. I have no idea about this. Is this something any of you have come across? I mean, I guess there may be people who are trying to sell their vans while they're away, if they're, you know, particularly away in the early part of the year. I don't know. I could do with a Spanish holiday though. And finally, comment number 5. Um, this was a comment about, and several comments actually, about staying away from anything either British, French, Italian, or Fords. So what does that leave me? German, VW or Mercedes. Um, because I'm assuming you're talking about the chassis, or are you talking about the actual habitation part of it? I'm not sure. Um, but if you're talking about the chassis, then that seriously reduces my options, as most motorhomes seem to be built on Fiat, Peugeot, or Ford chassis. And as for being powered by Ford, well, my car is a Ford Focus diesel, which is powered by a Peugeot engine. So let's move on to motorhome versus camper van pros and cons. Now, I've been taking a long, hard look at what I want from a van, bearing in mind the places that I want to visit. Now, back in the 1990s, when I had that VW Type 2, I spent a lot of time in Cornwall, as well as West and North Wales. And I'll be doing that again, as well as going to other places like Scotland and Ireland as well. And because of the small size of that VW, um, narrow roads leading to little coves with small beach car parks or natural beauty spots, not to mention supermarkets, they just weren't a problem. It was a doddle. However, the space inside the van was a problem, and you just couldn't move in it. Consequently, I ended up buying a drive-away awning to give me more space. And there have been a few times when I've gone away on tent camping trips, and on the road leading to the campsite, it was long and windy and very narrow. And I remember thinking at the time that if a tractor or a motorhome was coming in the opposite direction, I'd have a long way to reverse, and glad that I wasn't actually driving a large motorhome down those lanes. Um, I like to visit rural and beach locations, and often those are reached by driving along long, narrow, windy lanes. So, do I really want to be driving a motorhome with a width of 2.3 meters, not including the extra width from the wing mirrors, along those narrow lanes? And motorhomes are generally about a foot wider than large camper vans, such as those built by Ducato and Boxers. Now, I know like your Transits and your Sprinters are a bit narrower again. Um, but the camper van may be a better option for me. I, I mean, that'll have to be my daily transport as well, whilst I'm away in it, you know, exploring the world. You know, I still need to go to supermarkets and park in other car parks, and and stuff like that. So yeah, the smaller width in particular um, could be better for me. Having said that, I mean, I've spoken to other motorhome owners who've said that the size hasn't been a problem for them. Although I don't know if these are people that just rock up to a campsite and then don't move for a week. But I've also spoken to people who have downsized from a motorhome to a camper van because of the size of the motorhome. It was too much for what they wanted to do. Now, I've seen some lovely motorhomes, and they've had much more space than any camper van. But then, how much space do I actually need when I'm likely to be out walking during the day, sightseeing, um, and hopefully in the evening sat outside with a G&T? Another factor for me is that I don't want to be reliant on staying at campsites every night, particularly when I go to Europe. So I want to be able to generate enough electricity to keep me going for 3 to 4 days at least before having to go to a campsite to top up. And if I don't need to top up at all the better. Uh, I mean, for argument's sake, if I went away to Europe using my full 90-day entitlement in the Schengen zone, and I stayed at a campsite every night, plugging into an electric hookup, and again, for argument's sake, that electricity cost me £5 per night. That's £450 I'll spend on electricity for the full 90-day period, and that's a lot of money. So most motorhomes, and particularly older motorhomes that I can afford, will come with a 100 amp lead battery, which will have to be charged up probably most days or every other day using an electric hookup, or barely use the battery power at all and just use electric hookup. Now, that is fine if you're the type of person that wants to stay on a campsite every day and night. But if you're not that kind of person, like me, then something else is required. So if I bought an older motorhome, I would then have to spend more money on it to add solar panels and probably change the lead battery for a larger capacity lithium battery. However, I would make back the money from the initial outlay in no time at all by generating my own free electricity. And most factory built camper vans are the same unless they're designed as off-road vans, such as those built by Cactus in South Wales. But I think this is also why so many people are going down the route of converting vans and fitting 400 watts of solar and larger capacity lithium batteries. And there are some people making conversions out there that have been built with 100% electricity with no gas whatsoever. So I am now thinking about going back to my original idea of buying a used panel van with around 70,000 miles on it, probably about 4 to 5 years old, and having it converted. And I would use a company called Vanology Conversions, who are just down the road from me here in South Wales. Stuart there has already provided me with a quote. I know he's very busy with a queue of vans waiting to be converted, and his work quality is second to none. If you haven't come across Vanology Conversions, they have a YouTube channel, and I'll add a link to that channel in the description box below. But he is a very busy man, and panel van conversions have become very popular. And I suspect probably that's due to the outrageous prices of factory built motorhomes. Possibly. So, in conclusion, for most of us, there probably isn't the perfect van out there. There is always a compromise to be made, whether you're buying new or used. We all want to do different things with our vans. We all have different requirements, and we all want to travel to different places. Maybe you're someone who wants to explore Europe, or maybe you're happy just returning to the same campsite in Cornwall every summer. What is right for you isn't necessarily right for me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you someone with a smaller budget like me, or is money no object? What would be your requirements for your perfect van? Anyway, I hope you found this video interesting. If so, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you already haven't done so. It's one of the few things in life that's still free in this world. So until next time, happy adventures.